Welcome to a very exciting announcement episode of the Rossifari podcast.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari.
Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. Y'all, I mentioned at the top that this is a very special episode because there's a special announcement. It's actually happening at the beginning here. So, today we are going to be heading to the Virginia Living Museum, where I did 3 interviews with 3 different people that work there to give you a good idea of the scope of some of the different projects there and how things work there. For those of you that don't know, the Virginia Living Museum is a museum that is mostly a zoo. It's a zoo, but they also have like a planetarium and some other collections and stuff that focuses on native Virginia wildlife. And that is found in kind of southern Virginia. It's in Newport News. It's probably about a half hour from Virginia Beach, about a half hour from the Virginia Zoo. They are an AZA accredited facility, and it's a fabulous little place. And so I'm excited to share it with y'all. But I'm also excited to be sharing it with my family. And that is because Dr. Zoe Rossi has accepted the position of lead veterinarian at the Virginia Living Museum, y'all. So at the end of this summer, we are going to be moving from Buffalo to Virginia, and Zoe is going to start to live her dream of being a full-time zoo and aquarium vet. And I'm very proud of her. So now that the paperwork is signed and we know everything that's happening, I'm able to announce this. But before we get to the interview, there's more to this story. And I have to share this with you because it's really kind of cool. So the Virginia Living Museum actually reached out to me and asked me to come down and do some interviews and do basically this episode, right? And I, for whatever reason, I had heard the name before, but I thought that they were an unaccredited facility in Virginia. I actually think I confused them with another facility. And so when they reached out, I was kind of like, no, thank you. But of course, I did my due diligence and I looked them up and I was like, oh my gosh, this place looks charming. And they have amazing animals and they're AZA accredited. And so Clara, who is one of the people that works on the PR side of things, was the person who reached out to me. And we worked out, the details, and I made my plans to go down. And so that night I was talking to Zoe and I was like, hey, guess what? The Virginia Living Museum reached out and asked me to come down and Rossifari with them. And Zoe looked at me and was like, I thought you only did accredited facilities, because for whatever reason, Zoe also had it in her head that they were not an accredited facility. And because of that, Zoe had not applied to the veterinary position that she saw that was open there. So I looked at her and I didn't even realize that. So I looked at her and I said, hey, no, they're AZA. And she was like, oh my gosh, they have a vet position open. And so she was applying as I was working out travel details with Clara. And the first interview went super well. So well, in fact, that they said, hey, we'd love to bring you down for an interview. Do you just want to come with John? You don't have to if it doesn't work with your schedule, but it would be cool to get to know both of you. And so that's what we did. And so we went to the Virginia Living Museum and I spent the day Rossifariing, and Zoe spent the day interviewing with people and getting to know the curators and stuff. And It was just such a good fit, y'all. We loved the people there so much and the animals there so much. And I was so touched that this happened because of Rossifari a little bit. Right now, I want to give all the credit in the world. Zoe earned this 100% and is an amazing veterinarian and deserves this and whatever else comes her way that is positive in her career. But we wouldn't have known about this. We wouldn't have found this perfect fit if it wasn't for Rossifari. And if that isn't a cool enough coincidence, I'm going to take it even a step further. We're going deep into the lore now, y'all, okay? So, turns out that Clara at the Virginia Living Museum had actually not heard of Rossifari. I know, shocking, offensive, really. But you may remember a while ago that I was at the Virginia Zoo and I convinced an artist who sells her wares at the Virginia Zoo, Tied in Knots Crocheting, to make a binturong crochet stuffed animal for them to sell after Tasik the binturong. And it turns out that Tied in Knots also sells in the gift shop at the Virginia Living Museum. And Clara is helping them with their social media. And when she was on there looking at stuff and going through everything, Clara saw the collaborative post that we did to announce the binturong stuffed animal of Tasik and was like, what is this Rossifari thing? And looked and fell in love with the idea of doing this and started checking out the podcast and all the things. So at the end of the day, is Zoe getting her dream job because she's an amazing vet and deserves this? Yes. But is she also getting her dream job because I really love an old binturong at the Virginia Zoo? Yes. And if that isn't magical, I don't know what is. So I've talked far too long, but I love that story so much. So with that said, we're going to get to some interviews here, and I'll just have everybody kind of introduce themselves at the start of their interview. Enjoy, y'all.
I'm Lynn Heller. I'm the Senior Director of Living Exhibits, and welcome to the Virginia Living Museum in Newport News, Virginia.
Woohoo! Yes, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. It's my first time here. And it's wonderful.
Is it? Yeah.
There's a lot of really cool stuff going on.
There is. Yeah.
So I have a rule, and I don't get to do this very often, but when I go to a place that I haven't been to, really don't know anything about, I don't prep at all. Because I want to walk in with a sense of like wonder, and I want to be impressed.
Yeah.
And we're let down. It's happened before. But in this case, I was very impressed. Like, so I didn't know that like so much of this was like a boardwalk.
Yes.
And that that you have special guest animals, like all of the turtles that just live in the water around here and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It is so fantastic, right? So I want to talk about a lot of different things. But first, I'm so curious, you're in a high position here. And in the little bit, we've been talking for like 5 minutes, and you've mentioned a ton of people and places and things. And I'm seeing a Zoo Miami hat and picture of you with a cloudy and animal art from animals that are clearly not from here.
Yeah.
And a natural encounters thing from my buddy Steve Martin.
Right.
And so who are you? Tell me what your career has been like.
It's been interesting. I always wanted to do this from very small. So I was I'm old, so I was a Jacques Cousteau junkie as a little kid. So once I got into high school and started planning on college and all that stuff, I lived in Florida my whole life and lived in Orlando predominantly. So I decided, the first time I visited SeaWorld, that's where I wanted to work. So I spent probably every month for about 6 months bugging the heck out of SeaWorld for a job. And finally, I was prepared to go there and sell sodas at their whatever place.
Sure. Yeah.
And they said, "Hey, we have a job for you." So I interviewed for it, and it was a animal husbandry assistant working with penguins. So that was my first zoo job.
Okay.
And I subsequently spent the next 10 years at SeaWorld, and then decided I was going to try to go back to school. And that was an error on my part. I did not like school. So that lasted about one semester, and then I wanted to get back in the zoo field again. So Disney's Animal Kingdom had just opened, and my boss at SeaWorld was good friends with one of the curators at Animal Kingdom, gave her my name. They had a keeper position open. So I interviewed for that and was hired at Disney. And I spent the next 15 years at Disney's Animal Kingdom, which was cool. I was a keeper for about 6 years there, and then I was promoted to zoological manager, and that's when I started getting into the world of management and animal management and keeper management and that sort of thing. Between those two places, I just tons of experience with a lot of different things. At SeaWorld, I worked a lot with birds, and then I moved into marine mammals. When they opened Wild Arctic, I was part of that opening team, so I got to work with walrus and polar bears and beluga whales, which are very cool. Got to work with all kinds of exotic birds while I was there. Got to raise hand-rear kookaburras and parrots and flamingos and penguins and all that stuff. So tons of experience in 10 years. And then when I moved to Disney, I was like a kid in a candy store. It's like I just wanted to do everything. So I would volunteer for anything that came up, from, catching meerkats who I'd never caught before. I think I got tricked into that one. And, and, spending a day at the elephant barn, cleaning elephant poop, and, just everything. And I don't know why in the world I decided I wanted to be a manager, but I was like, sure, why not? And so I really focused on leadership and subsequently got moved into a management position. Disney has 24-hour animal care.
Okay.
So they have a night team. So it's a whole keeper staff that works overnight.
Oh, wow.
And Disney actually, as much as it's all guests and alive during the day, it's almost as much alive at night. So a lot of the work happens in construction and everything. So we took care of all the animals at the Animal Kingdom, and then all the animals at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, and then anything that happened on Disney property with an animal, we were consulted. So I got calls about bears in places, deers that were hit by cars, stray dogs, all that stuff. So you were constantly on the go all night. I left Disney after 15 years and kind of floated around for a little bit. My mom had a serious car accident, so I was helping out with my parents. And that ended up being less critical than we thought. And I took a job in the Bahamas and at a new resort that was opening down there. And then about 7 or 8 months in, they were like, we've gone bankrupt. So I was like,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was like, we can't pay you anymore, but you can stay. And I was like, I think I'd like a paycheck. So I came back to the States and interviewed a lot and took a job in Miami. So I was at Zoo Miami for 8 years, and I was a curator there. And
what area?
Asia animals mostly. Okay. Then I moved into they opened up an area called Florida Mission Everglades, which is all native animals. And so I ended up taking on that area as well. But I had a lot of the Asian primates and carnivores and birds. They have this 1 acre aviary that's amazing. You've been there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I managed that, and so I got to do, a lot of really cool stuff there. That's where I really kind of fell in love with orangutans. Nice. And got to work with those guys quite a lot, and just Asian animals in general really kind of took a liking to the hoofstock, Anoa, I think are so cool, and the bantang, and we had just all kinds of stuff there. So it was a lot of fun, and it gave me a great experience working with a native collection of animals too. So that's kind of what segued me into here. when I saw this job open, my parents and my brother live up here.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. And I was kind of felt like I'd run my course in Miami. So I was looking for something else that would be challenging. And so I came out here and just fell in love with the place when I saw it. And just really thought this was a great place to, I felt like I could make a difference here. And so here I am. Yeah.
That's very cool. Because I think a lot of people who hear your story, and like with the exception of a few small things, right? First of all, no one starts at SeaWorld. But to go SeaWorld, Disney, Miami, 3 huge, expansive places working with some of the most charismatic megafauna in the world. And you're like, yeah, I'm hanging out with polar bears. Oh, maybe I'll go work at a place with foxes and a wolf too, And I think some people would be like, what?
Yeah,
but that's actually like really cool that kind of called you. Was it more the animals here, or was it more the leadership and you felt you could make an impact that brought you here?
It was the message, that I saw, that I felt like was where the impact could be made. It was, I really felt like this was a place where people could truly connect with animals, with conservation, where they could truly learn to understand the stories, where they could. These animals live in their backyard. They live in their neighborhoods, and it's like, instead of like looking at wildlife as something that you accidentally run into, something that you understand and you seek to learn more about. And also it's like, going from a raccoon just got in my trash can, to, oh yeah, I saw these trash cans that bears can't get into, and so I'm going to set these up so the raccoons can't get in my trash can and they can go about their business, and we don't have to have this spat over garbage, just to be able to give people the opportunity to really care about what's around them, and that extends, to plant life, just to the wild world in general. It just seemed like such a unique opportunity to be a part of that. And that's really what kind of made me, it's like the light bulb that goes off in your head, and,
Right.
It's like, yeah, I think this is the place.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And you haven't tried to sneak a polar bear in, just like, hey guys, maybe we could.
I have talked a lot about black bears and gray wolves.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So maybe down the road, maybe mountain lion. You call them here? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm used to calling them panthers, but
sure. Yeah.
Mountain lion, maybe one of those at some point down the road.
You know what I always push for at native places? Is red pandas. And the reason why is we had a species of red panda that was like Southern Virginia through Tennessee.
Seriously?
Yeah, and there are 2 remains that have been found. They're at the Gray Fossil Site in Tennessee. I actually got to go and see them, which was really cool,
Wow.
like the bones and stuff.
I had no idea.
But yeah, so there is there is one facility, the West Carolina Nature Center, that is all native as well, but has red pandas because they have a history of that. Yeah.
Oh, I might have to learn more about that.
I'm just going to float that out there.
Yeah,
This is not the first time I've pitched this.
Yeah.
They may be my favorite animal too.
Yeah,
but I actually
have
do
heard
think
that.
it's,
Yes.
but I do think it's an interesting way
cool.
to connect to kind of our past. You know what I mean? It shows something a little different, but yeah.
Interestingly enough, with our ambassador program, I'm kind of hoping, if I've talked to our senior leadership about this, is maybe even expanding that out to even animals that are not native, but connect back to Virginia's history, that can tell that story in some way, shape, or form. So, I think it's interesting to be able to look at things from all sides, and not just go down one path. So, I think that would be really cool for our guests and things like that. But, definitely want to stay true to the nature of what this place is and and that sort of thing. But that's an interesting story.
Yeah, it really is. It's something. There's another zoo, I won't say which, but I mentioned it to them, and like we went as far as like we had multiple meetings, and like because I'm good friends with the head of the SSP, and I helped to run the SAFE program and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to them, and like unofficially off the record, but what would we need to do? And like they went as far as looking into the cost for the habitat, and it just wasn't feasible for what they were doing. But like it was another native, North America wildlife type place that was close to getting pandas because of this. And I'm like, more pandas, let's do the thing.
Yeah. No, they're very cool animals.
They are fun.
I've spent a lot of time when I've been to other facilities, I've had them, where I love how they have their habitats set up, and it's like to be able to emulate that for different animals that we have here. It's like, every time I go to zoos now, it's like two things. I look at the animal and then what's that door do?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about some of the animals that are here. There's so many good ones.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm drawn towards some of the more canid-esque ones.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk wolves, foxes, things like that.
Okay.
Tell me about some of the animals here.
Yeah. So we have elderly red fox named Harley.
So cute.
Yeah, she is very cute. She's going to go through her seasonal molt of her fur shed or whatever, and then she's going to look horrible for a while and be very self-conscious. But she's adorable, and we are working with the California Fish and Wildlife Department to bring in 2 very young male foxes. So that'll be a neat little transfer. They're about 2 months old now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they're super cute. Yeah, so
I have to come back, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, you definitely have to come back.
Yeah, okay.
And then last September, we brought in 2 coyote pups, also from California. We worked with, they are, the California Humane Society in San Diego. They have a wildlife refuge out there. And we worked with them and brought those guys in. And so they were super neat. When we have our elderly gentleman named Dakota Coyote, and he's hanging in there. I think he's gone a year past the top of their age range.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he's doing really well. And then we have the red wolves, which are part of the SAFE program.
Mm-hmm.
And they are also, we're just a holding institution, so we hold older animals.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys are definitely, they're really up there in age. But it's a decent habitat for them. And I think they have a fantastic message. I just feel like there's more we could do there. I don't know that, in all honesty, that it's kind of a weird dichotomy for me when I think about it. And I have not interacted with the Red Wolf Safe program at all, but they have a very hands-off approach to managing this species, which is, I totally understand. However, we've got 2 wolves on exhibit, which are right in front of the public, that should be terrified of people. And it doesn't compute with me. Like, I would love to see that program expand to where they had their release groups and then their holding groups, where holding groups could go into more of a training program,
right,
and be acclimated to life in a zoo, whereas the breeding groups would be, release groups would be at places where they don't have to interact with people at all. It's like literally people driving by in a truck and chucking a carcass in there with them, kind of thing. That would be, if I was king of the world, and that would be what I would want to do. But they're really interesting animals, and it's such a neat opportunity to take part in a program where you're trying to introduce a species back into the wild. I've got to do a little bit of that with Guam kingfishers.
Nice.
And a few other with Jamaican iguanas and things like that. But this has been the first mammal species that I've ever worked with in that sort of thing. So would love to kind of make that bigger and figure out ways that we could help out a bit more.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the red wolf conservation stuff has been something I've always been blown away by. From the minute I first learned about it, I was like, what? And like you said, a lot of the facilities I've been to that do it where they do the breeding, you wouldn't even know they had them. But I get to go back and see, like, at a distance, even then. And I'm just like, what? And they're like, yeah, if you look way down the hill, you can kind of see a wolf. And I'm like, it's
and
very
that's
cool.
how it should be. You know, it's like, I really support that kind of that process. It's just, I feel like we put them in we don't set them up for success in the situation that they're in when they're on exhibit.
Right.
But people need to see them, because for people, they have to be able to see things and feel things in order to care about things.
Yeah,
and,
you can't look at those guys and not fall in love.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's just not possible.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're I've worked with canids minimally in my career. The most experience I have are with Chinese dole.
No, nice. Dole are so cool.
Yeah, they are very cool.
Where did you work with dole at?
In Miami.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But from afar, I loved painted dogs, like, for the longest time. And I got to do minimal stuff with them along the way. But dole were the most experience that I had. So coming here, it was kind of neat to be able to work with all these different canids. So I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that is really cool. I like dole a lot. I like canids a lot.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think.
in general.
Yeah.
They're all so different, which is interesting. It's like when you work with cats, it's like cats are different looking, but they're the same cat.
Cats is cats. Yeah, no, I'm very aware of that, and I think it's so funny. And I've had the chance to meet lions and stuff like that, and they're just cats. They're just cats.
Yeah,
but yeah, canid species are very different.
Yeah. So how they interact with each other, how they communicate, all that stuff. It's like just the dynamics of their social behaviors are so complicated, and when you work with a pack of canids and you're like watching all these different things happening, it's you come in and it's a different day for like a month. It's a different day every day, and you're like, okay, who's in charge now? It's like, so, yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. So, what are your favorite animals here?
Oh boy, people ask me that, and I honestly, it's whatever animal is right in front of my face at any given time. So, I'll walk around here because I can't sit at this desk all day.
Yeah.
And at any given moment, you could find me talking to a shrimp, the shrimp exhibit. I'll stand there for like 15 minutes going, oh, look at you. Yeah. And, just stuff like that, like the turtles, that seem interested in you, but they just think you have food. And I pretend it's just because they like me. But, yeah. So.
Well, and I know that, you like the frogs.
Oh, yeah. Love those guys. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. I like all the little guys here. It's just, I like it. And I like that there are so many bonus animals. Like, I walked, so a lot of the zoo, the outdoor zoo part of this facility is a boardwalk around a pond. And there are so many turtles in it. And fish. I watched two fish fight today. I didn't know fish fought. That was really confusing and cool.
They would be probably spawning or nesting now, so there might be some altercations.
Maybe, it was really, I've never seen fish fight before. I was like, this is the coolest thing. Yeah. And just turtles swimming around everywhere. Now, I'm curious, if there is an animal that is on the property, but that is not one of your animals, did y'all do anything with them?
We do turtle census of this pond, and we're also working with some other places to do other ponds in the area.
Nice.
So every year they do a turtle census, and it's something that the guests can get involved with, and we have volunteers and all that stuff, and it's a big event. So, and they've collected a lot of data around that, which is awesome because I don't know if you noticed that pond out there is not spectacular looking. It's basically the runoff from the center of Newport News down through the neighborhoods, under the roads, off the roads, into here. And then it kind of trickles over behind Riverside and then eventually makes its way down to the James River. So it's kind of one of the things that, I think last year became a sore spot with me, where I was like, if we have this place and we're built around this natural kind of ecosystem, we should be taking care of this ecosystem, or figuring out how it can be taken care of. So that's kind of one of the things. We have a conservation committee here at the museum, and one of the things we're discussing now is what can we do to clean that up, and what can we do to make it a better habitat for those animals out there, and for the people to enjoy also, because we'll not only have all those turtles come in, but we've had owls nesting around the area. I've started to see more osprey hanging around.
Nice.
We get bald eagles flying through. I'm pretty certain that there's great blue herons that are nesting somewhere around here. So we've seen the random cormorant. I've seen hooded mergansers in there. So how do we take something like that was man-made and, and really kind of make it become what it should be, which is, its own little ecosystem and its own little representation of natural Virginia.
Right.
So we're working on that. But yeah,
cool.
it really can be a really neat part of the museum, and I'm glad that you appreciated it, because it's got a lot to offer.
Yeah. I'm curious. So y'all are AZA accredited, and that's something that I take very seriously, and I think is very important. And I think that's very cool. Does accreditation extend, or do they look at it, is a better way to put it? Two things. First of all, the rest of the museum. Like, does the AZA give a wet slap about the fact that there's a planetarium here? And then my second question is, do they look at the natural things? Like, is that pond under consideration for the AZA or not? Is it just your exhibits?
It's just the exhibits usually. Okay. But the thing about that pond is it touches two of our exhibits. Actually, three.
Okay.
Which I think is one of the reasons why we have to make some changes with regards to that. We don't control the water quality, and we have animals on those exhibits. So we, I've talked a lot about this is, moving those animals and putting them in a situation where they're, like for the beavers, for instance, where they have a pool that we control the water quality on. Like the otters, they have life support system and all that stuff, so that they have the best of the best. We do what we can with agitators and natural plantings and things like that, but it is what it is, for now. The raccoon isn't as dire of a thing, but still, he's on that waterway.
Sure.
That sort of thing. I think there is a time at some point where that could come into question with AZA. As far as the planetarium goes, I don't think I would be curious to know that when they come here, if they even know that there's a planetarium.
Fair.
Usually everybody's shaking in their boots when AZA shows up.
I know, it's so funny. I recently did an episode with the chair and vice chair of the accreditation committee. And man, you listen to them talk about it, and they're like, no, we're here to help. We want you to earn it. Like, we will not give it to you if you don't deserve it.
Well, that's
but
Craig.
Like, we're here
Craig
to
is such a great guy.
Oh my gosh, Craig
I
is
love him.
great.
Yeah, he's
such
fantastic.
a good dude.
Yeah.
So, but you're right, they do. And every time I've ever been at a facility or when I'm volunteering somewhere that has an inspection coming up, they panic. It's a thing, but
Yeah. I will say this last inspection, it's the first time I ever went to an accreditation hearing. The director, Rebecca, invited me to go with her, and it was quite a thing,
Oh, yeah.
But I did feel like what they were saying to you was true, is that they were so excited for us that we got this accreditation and that we did it. We overcame so much to do it. And it was just, they were like, it was, they were the biggest fans of that. And so that really made me feel good, being a part of that and their reaction to it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I know that we are running out of time here. And so I did want to ask you, is there a conservation organization you'd like to give a shout out to?
There's a couple of them. As you know, I love orangutans. So I would say BOSS, the Bornean Orangutan Sanctuary. And they also have a sun bear sanctuary there, which a lot of people don't know.
I
but
did not
they
know
do.
that. That's cool.
Which is, they're the coolest little bears.
Yeah.
And then Ian Singleton, who does Sumatran orangutan conservation. So those two organizations.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah, because I got to meet both of the people there. I got to visit them, and it's amazing what they do. And,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then it is time. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
Poop story. Oh my gosh. That is a hard one. You're around poop all the time.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So, it doesn't really involve doing anything with poop, but I know that when I was working at SeaWorld and I worked with this guy, Jeff, and we would be in cleaning the polar bear holding areas, and polar bear poop is really gross and stinky. And we would play this game of what would you rather do? Or if I paid you $1 million, would you do this kind of thing? So it was like, usually it was like, would you eat a spoonful of polar bear poop? And that was, yeah. So we had fun doing that. And then the only other thing is walrus. I don't know if you've ever been around walrus.
Yes.
But you come in the morning and it's like a Jackson Pollock painting in there. I mean, they're covered in it. It's all over the walls. It's all over the front of the doors. It's everywhere. And they come sliding up to you. And, you know, and you just know to stand about 4 feet back because you're just going to get sprayed. And they also, the snot, walrus snot, just the snot. And yeah, so that's hopefully probably not as good as some, but
it works. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
You bet. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead and tell me who you are and what you do here.
Sure. My name is Lindsay. I'm one of the senior ectotherms keepers here at the Living Museum. Initially, I started off working pretty much exclusively with our fish. I went to school for marine biology, so it's what I was more comfortable with. But in the last year, I've taken on a lot of our herps as well. I take care of our 2 ambassador ball pythons, our bearded dragon, and our female blue-tongue skink.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And where are we right now? What is this habitat?
Yeah, this is our Chesapeake Bay Aquarium. This is the largest system that we have on the premises. It is 30 to 33,000 gallons, depending on how full it is. And it is a replica-ish of the Chesapeake Bay.
Okay.
And a lot of the native species that we would find in that space.
Very cool. And it is beautiful. And we had the chance to go up top before doing this, which I always appreciate. I like being able to see where the magic happens.
Sure,
you know, it's so cool. So the first thing I want to ask about is there is something in there that I'm assuming is meant for enrichment, but it just looks like somebody dropped a banner or something in there. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, our training and enrichment coordinator, Britt, made this for us, specifically for this space, using some old banners that we had left over from one of our changing exhibits last year that wasn't really in use anymore. So it kind of gives extra territory. Essentially, some of the species that we have in this tank, particularly and I don't see any of them right now, tautogs, which are the only species of wrasse that is native to Virginia.
Okay.
They can get a little bit territorial, especially as they get large, and that gives them a little bit more space. It helps break things up a little bit more so that some of them might hang out in the cave here, some of them might hang out by that or some of the other pilings. And it kind of just floats up at the surface and is tied to the catwalk up above. So it's not floating around all over the place and getting stuck up in the filtration.
Yeah, that seems like an important part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. And then I understand that you have a favorite fish in here.
Yes, I do.
So
Our
who
sweet
we
angel
talking about?
baby. So we have a sheep's head in here. Another name for them is the dorkfish. And his name is Dante, short for orthodontics, because he has what I like to refer to as people teeth, which are really important for crushing through bivalves and barnacles and things like that, which is what he would do in his native environment.
Right. Very cool. And so what other kind of fish do you have in here?
Absolutely. So our big guys here are permit. They are a really popular sport fish. You won't find them nearly this big in the bay. Typically, when they're about this size, they'll migrate down south to Florida. So these guys have been with us for pretty much their entire lifespan. These little guys here that look very similar to them are pompano. Okay. They won't get nearly as large. And we've just got the 3 of them now. We have 2 more behind the scenes that just finished quarantine. One will be joining them, and then the last one will have to grow out in another system for a while. He's only about this big, so he'd get kind of lost in the mix.
Sure.
And then we have our Atlantic spadefish. We have a bunch of them in here. They are big nibblers. We have one that we like to call Bubbles because she likes to swim up to the air stones and kind of nibble on them.
Nice.
And pick off any algae. We have our look downs, which are really goofy little guys. They're very, very flat, very long, and they just like to school and kind of hang out and do their thing. Let's see, who else do we have in here? We have a singular black sea bass, which are actually in the grouper family. And then we have a mangrove or gray snapper, and he's really cool as well.
Nice. Very cool.
And I believe that's everybody.
When you're dealing with a system like this, how do you ensure that all of the individuals get properly taken care of, get enough food, all of that kind of stuff?
So this system gets fed 4 times a week. And as of right now, they get fed about 1,000 grams, between 1,000 to 1,200 for every feed. And we have someone positioned out front every time we have a feed, whether it be for a program feed where they also would talk to the public and educate them about the system and what's going on at the time, or just regular feeds, just to make sure that we can keep an eye on every single fish and make sure that everybody's eating. A lot of these guys, these big permit, they're at a later point in life where they may not necessarily eat consistently all the time. They'll go through periods. So it's really important for us to know when those periods start so that we can kind of figure out if there's another issue going on that might be causing that lack of appetite. That's it for feeds mostly. And then we kind of evaluate based on whether or not we add new fish, if we take things out, if we lose animals. As like I said, unfortunately, a lot of these guys are quite old.
Right.
So this is where they spend the rest of their lifespan with us, just because we don't have any other spaces that are big enough to hold them. We, in terms of system maintenance, dive 2 to 3 times a month on average. It used to be every single week, but then thankfully we were able to upgrade our filter media and our sand filters behind the scenes to glass, which is a lot more efficient.
Nice. Yes, yes, it is.
It's a game changer, honestly. But the main reason we get in is algae growth. So it gets really, really bad on the acrylic and then on the rocks that we have around the tank. So getting in once or twice a month, typically 2 divers, that way they can kind of tag team and it keeps things nice and clean and sparkly.
Very cool. Very cool. What other like systems do you take care of, or what other areas do you take care of?
I used to take care of a lot more. We were short-staffed up until a couple of months ago, but as of right now, I take care of this middle tank here in the center. That is our sargassum exhibit, and we have white mullet and plainhead filefish. And the mullet will eventually get big enough to go into this space.
Oh, cool.
They'll get about 2 feet.
Okay.
They're really cool. I really like them. And then I also, at the far end of the gallery, take care of our striped burrfish, which is the only species of puffer that is native to Virginia. His name is P. He's perfect. He's not the brightest, but he's very, very sweet. And then I take care of, and it's empty right now, unfortunately, but right around this corner, we have a little corner exhibit next to our touch pool. That is our seagrass exhibit. It kind of mimics seagrass beds, which are a natural nursery in the Chesapeake Bay for a lot of fish species. Often we'll have signathids in there like seahorses or pipefish. At the moment, we don't, just because they're very, very specialized in terms of care. So what we're doing right now is we're waiting for some fish that we have in quarantine to grow a little bit more. We have some sheep's head minnow and some mummy chogs, which will go in there, and it'll help simulate their natural environment as they grow anyway. And our training and enrichment coordinator and I are actually in the middle of a project. We're trying to figure out how to artificially add some what look like little bay scallops to the ends of the fake grasses that are in there, because that's what they do in the bay. They'll attach themselves to the ends of the eel grass as they grow to kind of keep themselves from being swept out all of the time.
Sure.
So we're really excited about that.
Cool. So why fish?
Ooh, okay. So I grew up in the Seattle area.
Okay.
And my uncle was stationed in Monterey when I was a kid, and we went to visit him, and I went to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. And from that moment, I was hooked. They had an IMAX movie that they showed at the aquarium that was about sharks. That really drew me in. And then as I grew up, I never really considered anything else. There was always the potential to go into field work or something like that, but this is where I really, really have fun, and I really enjoy what I do, especially here at this facility. We're very hands-on with the public. Everything that we have on display is native to the state of Virginia to help bring awareness to our native species and to help kind of stir up feelings of conservation in our local population, because our planet needs our help.
Yep.
So we're doing everything that we can to kind of bolster that in the young that come here.
Very
we get
good.
a lot of field trips.
Very cool. I like that. I'm also entertained that you didn't even chuckle when you said that you got hooked on fish. Because I caught it immediately, and I was like, oh.
At this point, it doesn't even register. We have our life support guy, very big on the dad jokes. So, and I grew up with them, with my father. So they don't even register anymore, unfortunately.
Fair. Very cool. Is there anything else that you want to say about any of the stuff that you do here?
I mean, you know, if anybody's in the area and wants to come see some native species, we have lots, and they're all really cute and really cool, and it's a really great place to learn. And we would love to have more people come visit us. But I love all these guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the goal of doing this. So hopefully we get more people out.
Absolutely.
Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
You know more than I know.
All right, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Say who you are and where we are and what you do here.
Okay. Hi there. My name is Carter. I am a senior ectotherm keeper here at the Virginia Living Museum, and I specialize in aquatic and terrestrial invertebrates. And we are in our water bug and water scorpion rearing right now.
Okay, very cool. This is exciting. So a little bit about me. I actually volunteered at Aquarium of Niagara, and I'm on the fish and invertebrate team there. And so I do some invert stuff, not a ton, but do have some seahorses and you know, some other things. So pretty excited to be here. This is a little more familiar than some of the other things for me.
Oh, okay.
So
good.
yeah, so I'm pretty excited. But we haven't had a lot about this on the podcast yet. So, you know, for the people that you're talking to, explain what we're looking at here.
So this is our water bug and water scorpion rearing, like I said, and this is basically where we raise up all the nymphs of our water bugs and water scorpions, and then once they're adults, we move them onto our exhibit. The process kind of starts by, well, I'll start with the water scorpions, but the process for them starts by me going in about every other day on exhibit and plucking out the eggs that they lay in their little floating cork pieces there. I'll then add it to these little moss mats you can see here, because the eggs need, like, they can't be fully submerged in water, but they can't be fully out of water. So
good. That's not challenging at all.
Oh, absolutely not. But yeah, those moss mats work really well for kind of getting that nice balance. And after about 2 weeks, they'll hatch out into nymphs, and then the nymphs will get moved into one of these cups. And as they grow, they get moved to other cups with the same life stages or instars. So we start with nymphs, and then they go all the way to instar 4. And once they molt at instar 4 and they're instar 5, then they get moved on to exhibit. For the water bugs, it's...
Well, hold on. Before we move on from scorpions, right? What is a water scorpion? I'm guessing most people listening have never heard that phrase before and are picturing like a scorpion with a scuba mask and, you know,
honestly,
are they going to sting us? Like, what's going on here?
No, they're not going to sting. They're called water scorpions because they have a body shape kind of similar to a scorpion.
Sure, yeah.
I think water stick bug is a more descriptive term for
That's
them.
exactly what they look like.
But they're just an aquatic predator insect.
Okay.
They're really cool. I really like that they just kind of sit in the water all day with their hands out, with their little graspers out, and just wait for something to swim by, and then they'll grab it and eat it.
Nice.
And
it's like one of those sushi
sushi on a, where they go by on the train
Basically,
thing. Yeah. And I just sit there and I'm like, oh, yep.
For me. But the water bugs are pretty similar. They're actually very closely related.
Okay.
I've heard some people describe the water scorpions as just a stretched out water bug, which I love that visual.
That's awesome.
But the interesting thing about the water bugs is that the females will actually lay the eggs on the males' backs, which you can see we have. Oops, sorry guys, I scared them. You can see we have a couple of males right there with eggs.
And they have eggs just chilling on their backs. That's so cool.
And they're actually pretty good dads, which is rare in the bug world.
Sure.
I mean, as I'm sure you know, usually with bugs, they just kind of lay their eggs and that's like, peace out, baby.
Yeah.
See you later.
Good luck.
But the dads will actually aerate the eggs. So they'll like kind of like how I was talking about with the water scorpions, how they can't be too dry, but too wet. The males will go ahead and take care of that. They'll also protect the eggs from any predators. But they're basically the same as the water scorpions. They hang out in here for about 2 weeks if I see any males on exhibit with eggs, and then they'll hatch out. The only difference is instead of separating them by instar, we separate them by brood. Just because when they hatch out, the broods can number anywhere from like 20 to I've gotten as many as like 100. Yeah. And since they all hatch at the same time, they all tend to molt at the same time. So we just kind of keep them separated by brood, so that way it's easier to keep track of those molts and everything.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so what are water bugs? I know you said they're very similar to the water scorpions. So another kind of just predatory bug?
Yeah, these guys are, what's the scientific name? I'm sorry, I'm so terrible at.
Dude, scientific names are insane. I always,
especially with bugs.
Yeah.
They're Ballistomatidae. So they're not the giant water bug that most people will think of. That's about 3 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
These guys get roughly the size of your thumbnail, but again, they're another aquatic predatory bug. And they kind of act the same way as the scorpions. They hang out in the water all day, waiting for something to swim by, and they'll go ahead and snatch it up, whether that's like they'll eat things like tadpoles or smaller fish, smaller aquatic insects. They're also pretty prone to cannibalism.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah.
So why are you propagating these?
Just because, well, if you want to have bugs in a zoo setting, you kind of need to have that breeding program behind them because their lifespans are so short.
Sure.
These guys live at most like a year in their adult phase.
Okay.
So unless I want to be going out and collecting these bugs every so often, then we have to have this breeding program in place. And we have that with a lot of our invertebrates here.
Okay, that's cool. Now, I know, so many of my listeners are so used to an SSP where, we have to move this gorilla to this facility and all that stuff.
Yeah.
These are bugs. How much do you have to worry about things like genetics and stuff like that? Or do you is that not how it works with bugs, like in general?
I would say you have to worry about genetic diversity to a degree. It's not the same as, it would be with like a mammal or something. What I really do is if I notice things like they're not producing as many eggs or there's not as many nymphs that are surviving to adulthood, then I kind of figure, maybe their genetics are a little getting a little whack. So what I'll actually go out and do is go to the lake that's out back and just collect them out there.
That's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool. Do you think that having these animals on display and being able to see their different life stages here helps people connect with the fact that they're right there in the wild and like that the lake is right there and everything?
I think so. I do get a lot of, there's this big open window here. I do get a lot of kids coming up and I get the opportunity to show them these little bugs, which they may not usually see out in the wild because they're very small, they're very quick, and they blend in very well.
Right.
And I also feel like it gets to kind of get people to relate to bugs a little bit more, because I'd say that's one of the biggest obstacles in my jobs is, most people don't like bugs.
Yes.
And, a lot of the times they'll see the bugs and they'll be like, oh, gross. But then I get to be like, oh, hey, this is what it looks like as a baby. And I mean, itty bitty. So
Aw.
it's hard not to look at them and think that they're cute.
Right. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I think it's important to connect people to all of the animals, not just charismatic megafauna.
Yes.
And I fully say that, knowing that I help lead the Safe Red Panda program and not the Safe Water Bug program. But still, I do think that is very important. I think that's very cool.
Well, the pandas need a little bit more help than these guys.
A little bit. Yeah. Well, we can't go out into the lake and collect some pandas.
No.
So very cool. What else do you do here other than these things?
Like I said, I specialize in terrestrial and aquatic invertebrates. So I pretty much take care of all of the invertebrates that we have here. Anything from like our crabs to our crayfish to our millipedes and snails, those guys.
Millipedes are really cool.
I love our millipedes. We have 2 very thriving colonies that I can show you later if you'd like.
Sweet. Yeah, I love millipedes. They're really cool.
Yeah, I would say I do a lot of breeding here. A lot of feeding, a lot of cleaning. I'm sure that's every keeper.
Sure, yeah. No, but I think it's so cool that it's with such a focus on insects, like that's just not something you actually see a ton of, unless there is a very specific, like an insect house at, at a facility. But that's really cool. I like that a lot.
And one thing I really do like to do with these guys is offer them enrichment, which a lot of people don't really think that, bugs have the mental capacity for enrichment. But I find, especially our aquatic inverts, like our crabs, they go absolutely crazy for it.
That's awesome.
Some of my favorite things are I mostly do feeding enrichment and environmental enrichment with them. But we like giving those silicone texture mats to our kind of our terrestrial invertebrates. Because, if you think about it, it makes sense. They're on the ground all the time.
Yeah.
Give them new textures to climb on.
Yeah.
And they seem really into it. Like you put one in and they're all just kind of like swarm on it. I also really enjoy giving feeding enrichment to our crabs because they have to use their claws to pick things out of like a holy roller or like a snuffle mat or something. It's enrichment for them, but it's also enrichment for me to watch.
Sure. No, I get that. That's cool though. I do think that there are certain species that a lot of people just don't worry about enriching, but everything can be enriched. Now,
yeah.
I know at the last AZA conference, there was actually a whole group talking about making sure that the quality of life of feeder insects is good. And I was like, oh, all right, that's fair. That's, I dig that. I never thought of that, but yeah, that's cool.
And that is something we've kind of been dipping our toes into a little bit with the feeder insects, kind of enriching their lives. I will, not to brag or anything, but I will say that our care of our feeder insects is a lot better than what I've seen at other facilities.
That's great.
We've been giving them things like different cardboard shapes or like those little cardboard toilet paper tubes, just things like that, and they seem to enjoy it.
That's awesome.
They climb on it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I was really excited to hear about that and definitely put some thought into, I have some herps and stuff, and so we have some roaches and some worms and stuff. I put some thought into that too. You know, it's important. Vary up the diet a little bit, vary up the surfaces they have. It's not hard.
Oh, no.
You're not making a fire hose enrichment for them. But no, that's really cool. I love that y'all are so conscious of that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Is there anything else you want to say about your position here or VLM or any of the things?
I guess I do want to say, I really, really enjoy working at the VLM because I think it's a very interesting opportunity for people to connect with those native animals that they're, may not see at a zoo or aquarium or something like that. I really like that we have a focus on those natives to kind of shine the spotlight on them and let people know, hey, you could potentially find this thing in your own backyard,
That is really cool.
And I like that it helps, connect people to their community and what's the word I'm trying?
Just their ecosystem?
Their ecosystem. Thank you.
Of course. No, I get it. That is really cool. I think that's something that's really important. And I think that some zoos miss on that, because it is cool to go and see a red panda, a binturong, and be like, what is this? But you're never going to see one in your backyard. hopefully. And if you do, something is terribly wrong. So yeah, no, I do think that's really important. I know some of my favorite connections have been seeing foxes, outside of my house and stuff and things like that. And then you see one and it's like, I fell in love with them at zoos. And then I saw one and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I love being able to you're on a walk at night and you hear a frog call and I'm like, oh, that's a, Cope's great tree frog or some other frog. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like, I've heard some people compare it to like Pokemon hunting where it's like, it's like, oh, I know what that is.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Would you like to see our millipede colonies?
And to no surprise to any of you, I did want to see the millipede colonies, and I got to, and so many other really cool behind-the-scenes animals. It was just a really, really great day, and apparently it's the first of many, 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 many really, really great days that I'm going to have at the Virginia Living Museum. So, yeah, Zoe and I are really excited about this transition. So I definitely want to take a moment to say thank you to Lynn and to Lindsay and to Carter. They were all fantastic. And to the other staff members I met that were also absolutely fantastic. Got to hang out with a lot of the team, especially Clara, who I spent a ton of time with that day, and we really bonded. I'm really looking forward to some of the relationships at this facility for myself. There are some really amazing people there. So, yeah, I'm very excited. Before we get going, since I skipped all of this at the beginning, real quick, make sure you're following the podcast, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're following on the socials at Rossifari, at Rossifari Pod on TikTok. And you can do the whole Patreon thing to support the pod by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. You know who did that? My Red Panda level patrons did that, including Dr. Lars Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin. Meow. We will be back here on Friday with the Zoo News episode, but until then, remember, friends, the word credit backwards is Steiderk.
The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.